Two NYPD officers attempt to disperse a group of migrants on the street, but while attempting to make an arrest, are pummeled by a group of 8 men, which later triggered a large police response with a manhunt for the migrants. And although most of them were found and arrested, apparently their DA released them right away without bail, where this image of one of the men leaving jail went viral. But it wasn't just him, as it appears none of them took their incarceration seriously, as they simply waltzed back into society. And obviously this has the internet outraged, as it puts out 2 actually dangerous messages. 1, people can pummel the police in the streets and apparently be immediately released as a matter of New York City's policies. But 2, people here illegally get the very clear message that not only do the rules not apply to you, but you can brazenly do so, because what can the citizens actually do to stop you? Call the coppers so those officers can come and get stomped out too? Because when you look at the local Pix 11 reporting on the story, it only gets worse, as apparently it wasn't just random beat cops, as one of them was actually a lieutenant. And now Republicans are asking for deportation of migrants who commit crimes, but their Democrat governor simply remarked it's worth revisiting that idea, as currently only the feds have the ability to deport criminals. And from what we've recently seen in Texas, that may no longer be the case, as the Biden administration not only seems to be unwilling to deport anybody illegal that continues to do illegal activity, but they seem adamant about increasing the numbers of those here illegally that continue to conduct illegal activity. But I guess it would be unfair of me to say this is entirely on the Biden administration, as recently Congress voted on deporting migrants for driving under the influence, to which 150 Democrats voted against. And even worse, the bill to deport immigrants for Social Security fraud, 155 Democrats voted against that. And the most insane part about all of this is the banning of actual people that committed horrendous attacks overseas. 2 Democrats actually voted against that. So it really seems that there's a scheme to allow a certain people to actually destroy our society, all in the name of social justice. Because I'm sure some idiots online will stamp their feet at the idea that I would even infer these people are destroying society. But we're talking about fraudsters, people pummeling the police, and actual known terrorists. And somehow, you're not allowed to say, get rid of those individuals, without politicians behind their barriers of protection crying, why won't someone please think of the criminals? Maybe that's why families have a hard time simply walking through the streets of deep blue New York City.
They can't even aim. Here comes another one. There it was. There it was. Hey! A good shot.
Now, although I had to cut most of the audio as those future doctors and engineers were mainly spewing a certain word repeatedly, but a common caption with that TikTok clip was that those were migrants. But based on what they were saying and how they were saying it, I believe those were American kids, which I honestly think makes this scenario even worse, as apparently these kids think it's perfectly permissible to attack random families in the streets, as it's become common practice for deep blue DAs to refuse to prosecute serious crimes because of social justice.
We as a city and a community need to be much more focused on prevention and surrounding young people and their families with resources if we want to be safer in the long run. We cannot prosecute and arrest our way out of it.
Which reminds me of the hipster Flanders parents that just refuse to discipline their children, because before this newfound wave of not punishing crime took hold in our cities, I don't recall the Kia boys becoming an issue, only when society said, we're going to save the youth by letting them commit any crime without the fear of repercussions. Only then did we see places like DC saying, it's not our new policies to blame for these new video game levels of crime plaguing our streets. It's somehow your fault for not giving us enough money to fund the group that's carrying out these video game levels of crime plaguing our streets. Because we used to have a system in place that was fairly effective in keeping our communities somewhat safe. Was it perfect? Absolutely not, but the solution should never be simply re-ranking society's protected classes, because it used to be police, citizens, then criminals, but now it seems to be rich political criminals, poor criminals, police, and somewhere underneath the subterranean crust, the average everyday tax-paying citizen. Because just like DC saying, let the kids carjack, we don't think arresting them will stop this, now NYC is somehow saying, let them pummel our police, why would we simply arrest or deport them? New York City has a brand to protect, and apparently it's third world living at first world prices. So if you appreciate my concise, light-hearted commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video on how they're finally laying down the law and making mass arrests, but only on farmers.